Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are casting a game of Dominions 5 with Sy.
Hi, I'm Sy, and I like Dominions.
Yes, so do we all. So this is turn 8 of the Hydra game, where teams of two players are controlling one nation. And we have some messages. So Tienchi, we haven't heard from Tienchi, I think, um, in a while. So nap 3 with Kalim on current borders, plotting against Atlantis in the future. I'm not a fan of him being able to sail into my cap circle from his capital. Good point. Bogarus seems willing to jump Atlantis and their awake worm. If we can put pressure before water elementals come out, I can nab their lakes too. That'll be a pretty penny that is relatively safe. Um,
Oh, because of his Titan, that actually makes
yeah,
sense. So,
yeah. Let's hold
yeah,
on. Let's.
the later you wait when it comes to fighting an underwater nation
Mhm.
underwater, the more difficult it can be to remove.
Yeah,
Just because the expense of bringing your mages underwater continues to grow, whereas they already have all their mages there naturally.
yeah, yeah.
There's some exceptions to that, of course, like you've got your Solarias and Nazcas that have no problem invading the ocean, but for the most part, it's very challenging for a land nation. But when you have a Titan, that's even more the case because when it first comes out, it has no problem fighting underwater because it's a super combatant and it can fight wherever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go send it after they've got for like a bunch of forgiving fathers out, I mean he mentioned water elementals, but just like Soul Slay or Body Ethereal or Luck on a bunch of troops or with quickness going along with it, then those unsleepings can chop up a Titan pretty well.
Yeah.
So he's definitely right that you want to go underwater if you are planning on going underwater before Atlantis has a chance to really solidify their control.
Yeah, for
S-
sure.
So actually, I actually do see now why TNG would want to pick this fight. Well, for one, you don't want to fight Atlantis on your own. Like it's just a really bad
Mm-hmm.
matchup. For another, he's like Atlantis is really pushing in on his
Well,
territory.
that's a.
Like
Yeah.
taking 111 is rude. That's a
Yeah.
war declaration right there, basically.
That
Um,
is rude. Because last turn this army was here, and I assumed he was going to go here, but he pushes here. Um,
and that's not something you can get away with unless you're planning on immediately backing that up with a proper invasion.
yeah, yeah.
But TNG actually stands to gain quite a bit of territory if this war goes well,
Mm-hmm.
because he not only gets 111 and 129, which from his perspective should very well be his anyways.
Mm-hmm.
He's reasonably likely to get 132, and if he's the only one going in underwater after them, he
Yeah,
gets four provinces that no one else is going to contest.
exactly. And one of the nice things, well, first of all, like Atlantis may be a strong nation, but if it's a 2v1, then this, I mean, it doesn't matter how strong your nation is, but not that much, right? So it feels great to go in a 2v1. And like you said, the advantage of having that Titan that can go underwater is that you don't even have to fight hard for this. It's like free spoils of war, right?
And then the other thing is that so you were saying how like there that no one really wants to fight 1v2 early. Um, so when you're fighting a multi-front war, one of the things that really matters is being able to win battles without significant losses.
Yes.
So if you're a nation that uses like early super combatant type stuff or Skelespam type spells where when you win fights you don't take a significant amount of attrition,
Hmm.
then you can handle a 1v2 okay as long as you get a decent early lead, just
Yeah.
because even though you're fighting on multiple fronts, as long as you're winning each battles without like losing
Like
significantly,
decisively. Yeah.
then it's not even a matter of it being decisive, because if you bring 200 troops and lose 50 of them and wipe out the enemy's 200 troops, you still lost 50 troops,
Hmm.
right? So Atlantis, because its early game is very much reliant on spamming infantry, it's going to have a really hard time winning on two fronts decisively like that, because even when it wins battles, it does so through grinding them out with just better infantry units, which are still going to be whittled down and be taking
Hmm.
afflictions, if not outright losses, even in the winning battles.
And I
So
have
both
to
as a matter.
say, I was just gonna say, like, the other thing too is, like, we'll see what kind of force Tianchi brings to bear, but like ancestor vessels are pretty. I mean, he doesn't have like the most amazing bless, but they're still like really good against infantry. Like even against good infantry, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not like Like, it's not against Bogarus. Against Bogarus, you're going to feel great going against any of Bogarus's infantry. But, like, I mean, we'll have to see how the battles are scripted. And to be fair, like, although we've been laughing at the Mournfuls a little bit, these actually can smash, like, Ancestor Vessels. But, like, just the Barbarian Heavy Cav plus the Ancestor Vessels are, like, one of the worst. I don't want to say a worse matchup because the Atlantis infantry really is good, but like it doesn't feel as good when you stack it up against these kind of quality units that Tienchi is going to bring.
Yeah, I would say that it's really the lances that make the difference there, and that when you have the like super heavy infantry, you basically are relying on them to be able to outlast against what they're fighting. And shock cavalry are kind of the opposite; they just do a lot of damage in that initial charge, right? Like that's why even indie heavy cavalry is so dangerous. So TNT can just bring a lot of lances to the field. So that's going to be just really effective against units that will die to that lance charge, or in the case of these Mournfuls, just have a hard time hitting back.
The other thing I didn't realize is these only have 9 morale, and they have a pretty bad shield. So against fear bows, that's like not ideal. Anyways, I'm curious to see if this war pans out. Like, I'll be curious to watch those battles. Anyways, that was just a message. Let's keep reading. Actually, Bogarus. Bogarus says, so he has just seen Atlantis's Awake Pretender. So the worm was pretty interesting. Can't say I really expected Atlantis to have an Awake Pretender, but I think all in all, it's a good thing. So he's kind of expecting Atlantis might attack him. I don't know if they've. I mean, you don't need to declare war. They obviously don't have a nap. So he's thinking that maybe Atlantis is going to attack, presumably here. Or at least he's preparing for that eventuality.
Yeah, the other thing is that he thought that Atlantis was going to go for 166. And I don't see why he would think that. Because that's really far.
This turn? Hang on, let me read this.
Well, he said in the message that he thought that the worm was going to go up to secure that.
Okay, well, let me finish reading. Maybe it's a second. No, here we go. Hang on. Let me finish reading it. So, in the big farm province, if he attacks it, so he obviously Lucid tests a lot, so presumably he tested this and it works.
Yeah, see, he said, the move I think his god will make, though, is move north to challenge me taking that farm next turn. So he's talking about the worm going back up to 174 to then go take 166. And I don't see why he would think that, because that's very much out of Atlantis' natural expansion path.
Well, so he obviously he has incomplete information.
Yeah, but I think that he thinks that Atlantis wants to fight him early. Like, he assumes that Atlantis wants to rush him.
But also, he might assume... See, I think Bogarus assumes that all this is already taken, right? Like, we know that he actually wants to come here and clear this, but Bogarus might assume that this has all been cleared. He sees
he can see that the sea wasn't taken. So you could see that at least was Indy. You're right, though, that he might have assumed that Atlantis was going to come back and get that sea late, and that he had already taken the 2 provinces behind it.
Yeah, he knew that, right. When he sent this message, this was gray.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess he's thinking, Bogarus is thinking, like, worst case scenario is what? Is that Atlantis has successfully expanded, and now it's like turn 8, and they're moving out west, and they're going to put pressure on me because I'm Bogarus and everything. But everybody thinks Bogarus is bad early on, right? So, and the worm was here last turn. Because we're getting this message. This is like from the past, right? So,
yes.
The worm was here. Yeah.
He thought that the worm was going to go north to 174. Which is, I just okay.
I mean, but the worm, if you thought Atlantis was going to be aggressive against you, you wouldn't, this would be crazy bold. But if you thought there'd be more stuff coming here to reinforce to clear underwater with like an army, then yeah, you send the worm here. That way you can put pressure here and here. Like, that's conceivable. But anyways, it didn't happen. So And it looks like Lucid has done enough testing that with some PD and some expos and a couple of exarchs kill the worm. So he's not too scared about this attack, which is good because he's building a fort here.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate waste of gold to do that PD dump, but I mean, Province defense is never completely useless.
Yeah, and he's building a fort, so like that's like extra insurance against like barbarians and silliness like that. Um, and also in Bogarus news, Nap 3 with Raga, I get the Expo province, they get the two beneath. So Raga here. So they've negotiated these. So Raga gets these two, and Bogarus gets this one, I guess. Which, if with complete information, you might feel more like emboldened to take more from Raga because they're so small. But and the matchup's actually pretty good because they have no MR on their bless. But Bogarus looks like they are worried about this war. You want to have peace, and getting 1 and 2 is actually these are actually terrible provinces. He might know this. So in terms of income, it's actually a pretty fair split.
Yeah, the other thing is that those provinces aren't part of his natural expansion route anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So Raga could very realistically have just asked for all 3. Right?
Yeah.
Like, because he can just fly there from his capital and grab them with Zidans at any time. So they're almost like part of his cap circle in that sense. Whereas Bogarus has to actually put together a new group from his capital to go take that one that he negotiated for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends. See, it depends how much information each player has about the other, right? But like, given this current situation, I think 1 and 2 seems like a reasonable split. Like,
Yeah, especially given that Raga's player is just not confident. I can see why he wouldn't want to be aggressive in negotiating.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so those are the messages from Bogarus. Raga. Okay, so actually that's interesting because I got a message from them in game, but I also have a message from them in Discord. So one of the players says, "Hello, Alferois Legion again. We have plans on an early war against Joman for bad jokes about literature, and they should not be too bad to kill. So we are going to pound out borders with people. And so with Bogarus, we have agreed to nap 3 in favorable border for both sides. They get that's what we said." We now have more cash and can get 3 Griffins a turn and a Mage, plus some heavy cav. That's all from the Legion. And let me just add to that the other message. The other message only specifies that they're actually making their moves to like strike at Joman's cap. Like they're getting ready, I think, with this group here to strike at Joman's cap is the meaning of the message they sent in Discord. Like the move they made this turn was to position these so that they could go onto Joman's capital.
It's interesting that they're doing that so early.
Yeah, because it's also just because the message in game seems to indicate that they want to establish more borders. Right? They have a lot of borders they still need to establish, especially here and here. I'm also surprised at how early they're pulling the trigger here.
Just given how like slow their expansion is, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. And let's see, the last message, Flegra. Okay, this is actually our first message from Flegra, I think. So I'm sure you've seen that we are having some problems. Unfortunately, our chances to attack the north on the first turn of expansion did not go through, and our pretender went south. Yeah, as we suspected, right?
Yeah, that
into
makes
70
sense.
barbs. So the plan now is survive. They're trying to get provinces with mercs, research for Evo for Sulfur Haze, then Earth Meld, Communion Mages until Tyrants.
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely very good early goals. The problem with Sulfur Haze in particular is mostly just that it's countered by stats to resist sacreds. Like anything that has fire resistance or poison resistance is going to be very resilient against that. And Earth Meld, along similar lines, is just useless against anything that flies. So for Raga in particular, those are both basically dead. Like neither of those spells helps you. Um, but I guess he's lucky that Raga picked a different target, because with those early research goals, he can have both of them online and still not be able to defend himself whatsoever.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, as the Flegra player pointed out in the message, their biggest challenge is going to be like in a couple turns when everybody around them for sure 100% realizes that they're tiny, right? Because
yes.
right now, if you're, I don't know, Vedheim, you see this, but like maybe it's because Flegra has all of this, right? But
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
take a
We
few turns to realize, oh wait, they actually don't have anything. They're just in a terrible position.
Yeah, I'd mentioned this last turn, but Vadeheim definitely should win this early matchup.
Yeah.
And Earth Meld does actually help because the Vadi have relatively low base strength, but doesn't help as much as Elementals. Um, so slowing your pivot towards those guys might be a problem. But on the other hand, we do see that he has a bunch of mages in his capital, so he is at least getting research. So I think he's doing the right thing in terms of what you need in order to actually defend yourself. That unrest in his capital, though, I mean,
That's
it's from the Dominion, but
yeah,
like,
flagrant stuff. That sucks.
um, can we see? Okay, so the 53 unrest in 146, I guess that's just from the battle and his Dominion, because it doesn't look like there was any other. There were no events there.
Yeah, no offense. Jeez,
It's just bad
feels
unrest.
bad, man. All right, let's go through and take a look at the turns. Uh, Recentering again on Arco since we've been doing that. So the Mercs, which are still under his control, have been consistently all game. Looks like he pinged the throne here. This is a wizard's throne, it turns out, which is nice. Are they elemental? Earth, that's nice. Ones across the board. That's a pretty good type. Oh no, wait, we have fire. Okay, so big fire elementals will happen here. Good to know for the future. And he has expanded 3 times this turn. Is this the turn that the research rush pays off? There it is.
Hey, we got protection.
All right, so just protection. 21 protection. Pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, you say just, but it's good. It's a good amount.
It's an amazing amount. That's fantastic. Yeah. So takes out this province. Takes out another province here. Let's take a look actually, because these guys are the sacreds. So they're even fancier. Looks like he's got 2 mini squads here. I guess the bless didn't go off yet. Or it didn't. I just didn't have the right thing. Oh, maybe he blessed these guys? Huh. The bless didn't seem to target them.
Well, he doesn't actually really need the bless for expansion.
Yeah, the berserker just triggers anyways, and
that's the more important part, yeah. For
and these
expansion
have
purposes.
with protection they have 25 protection.
Pretty good.
Very nice with the berserk. Excellent. Okay, and he also expands here against another nice big province. Oh, and here? Wow, 4 provinces this turn.
I think that's the value of that research rush that you were talking
about. For sure,
about.
Yeah. So that really snowballed.
Yep, and 5 in a square.
Yeah.
Or no, because they're not all hard companions.
Yeah, one of them was a little bit off. But yeah, so this is great. But also this was all planned, right? So, he's been pre-moving because from this province he attacked these 2, right? So he had to split up the parties and everything.
I wonder if he spoke to Tienchi. Because he knows that Tienchi is pretty close there. So I wonder if they actually arranged this distribution or not.
Well, let's see. Tienchi was in this province last turn, and both of these were gray. So we don't know if he had scouting information, but conceivably, if he had a scout up here, he would have known that these were unreachable from Tienchi.
Right.
So he wouldn't have had to negotiate. He could have just taken, right? Ask for permission later.
Right.
So they might have negotiated, but Arco didn't have to negotiate this.
Yeah, it's just a matter of what he actually knew.
Yeah, if he had the information. Yeah. Okay, very solid turn here from Arco. Of course, all the planning came beforehand. Now, to the north, he's pretty much done. This, I don't know if this can take. I don't think this can take the heavy cav, but with a bit of rejiggling
The
his
yeah,
armies, he could
the
take it
so
next
the
turn.
he can put all three parties together by moving the two that he just has on Tienchi's border now into 40.
Yep.
Um, and then those plus the ones that just took the northern one can all group up to take that heavy cav towards Vadheim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, next turn, and he can kind of clear this out. Anyways, he still has a lot of room to grow. So
He can wait on the cave, I think. But just
yes.
because you know that TNG's not going to send archers into that,
Mm-hmm.
that you basically just wait until the shipwreckers come back and take it with them.
Yeah, and I think probably this army here probably goes down here to start taking this.
Oh, he could send stuff from his cap to do that. Although I guess it doesn't really matter which, like, whether his cap goes west and his that party goes east or vice versa. But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good point. So okay, so the thing is here, there's two heavy calf provinces. So but there's 10 Harkemans. Yeah, I think these two armies together is enough to take this heavy cav and then this one. I think this you would send at least in the crossbows, because I think the next priority for Arco in terms of like pushing out his borders early is he has to go south, right? He wants to get as much of this as possible.
Yeah, I wonder if he's in on this anti-Atlantis coalition.
Hmm.
Because no one mentioned him. I think they might have just left him out.
I mean, yes, I think they don't want him to get the stuff, right? Like, if I'm
Yeah.
Bogarus or Tienchi, I want it to be a 2v1. I don't want it to be a 3v1 because 2v1 is enough, right? If it's a 3v1, you get less stuff. So
Yeah, the other thing is if he sees that the 1v2 is going on anyways, he can just kind of swoop in and take
yeah,
stuff
he might
without
invite
being.
himself to the party, right? So
Yeah.
all right, so we'll see if he does do that. Midgard has taken two provinces down here.
10 veneer is way too much. These are, I mean,
They're very
yeah,
large
these are
parties.
enormous expansion parties.
And yet, you still lose one, right?
Yeah, but you don't have to. Like,
But you would
these are
still,
all
yeah.
these are all just fighting. Yeah, these are all like charging in from the front. They're not. This is not attack or your stuff. These guys are literally just running in and taking infantry head on.
Remarkably, this Hoburg province in the capital
Yeah,
still
that's like the easiest one because
still alive.
you're yeah. And then the other thing is that those Hober crossbows are really useful. Like
Uh-huh.
you want them so you can start making
Yeah,
them.
you want to start getting them as soon as possible.
And even the
Yeah.
horticulturalists are really solid additions just because you don't have native nature magic and they're really cheap and they can random water, so they get you that foul vapors tech that you normally are missing.
Yeah. Okay, that's Midgard. Patala has expanded once up here with the Bandar Warriors, this expansion group doing work, and then, as we predicted down here with the Bakemonos, loses 12 out of 51, fighting some
Yeah.
heavy cavalries. Why don't we take a look?
He successfully lost those Marcata, which I'm sure he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
and
Yeah, good script. Yeah.
yeah, Bakemonos are good against heavy cav. Like, I mean, obviously you lose some, but these guys are cheap.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
you're very
And
comfortable
like a
losing.
very good timing here on the script, right? They kind of hit all at the same time. Now it'll be interesting. Well, actually, we know that Raga's going to fight Jomin.
Yes.
Now, what does Patala know of this? Is interesting because if you're Jomin, you, on the one hand, if you say like, "Hey, Raga's going to attack me. Why don't you attack him?" Yes, but if you're Patala, maybe you just go attack Jomin instead, right? Like, who would you put your bets on? So unclear And again, if you're Raga, you don't necessarily share the info with Patala that you're going to attack Joman, because maybe you feel you can take him on and you don't want Patala to get any of the spoils.
Patala also just has a huge amount of indies around it still, just because it borders,
Right.
it lost its Titan, so it was a little slow getting going. So I think that Patala is fine just not getting involved at all and taking all the gray provinces first.
So, but also that determines, like, if you're Patala, do you like aggressively set your borders against these neighbors or not, right? But I think, see, if you knew they were going to war, you would feel very comfortable taking this and up here taking this, right?
Yes, absolutely. The other thing is you really want that Zotz province. That's
For
a
sure.
really nice addition.
Yeah, worth fighting over, definitely. Okay, that is Patala. Vedi expand. Looks like he combined here to take out this heavy calf province.
So what's interesting to me is that the reason that that province is so hard isn't because of the heavy cav, it's because of the sheer number of crossbowmen. So that command block, like even if you do an attack rear against that successfully,
with the
is
Wolf
just very
Brothers.
hard to kill.
Yeah.
Although it looks like in this case he didn't get to do that anyways. Oh, I see what happened. His Wolf Brothers were north and the heavy cav were also north, so he didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to intercept.
didn't
Or
get
to
go
attack
around.
rear because
Yeah.
they got intercepted, yeah. Fascination is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's interesting that that's what the AI is casting off script, but I'm guessing it's out of range of anything else.
All right, and he also just doesn't have anything else worth casting,
Yeah.
given his research. But honestly, this is kind of fine, right? Like you lose some Wolf Brothers. That's okay.
Yeah, you lose like 150 gold. That's not a huge deal. The province pays for that, more than pays for that in literally the turn that you took it.
Yeah,
so no
exactly.
problem.
No problem. And he pinged this, and he sees that, like, unfortunately, it's a pretty big pile, but these are still not too hard. Let's see. What does he have left over? Not.
I think you can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other moves? Nothing up here.
But did he only take one province?
Looks
That
like
is surprising.
I guess his stuff was out of position. There's an army here. I guess this is moving.
No, that's new. He just built that in the forest, I think. Because that's
Yeah.
Vedi light infantry. He didn't have those before. So those are the forest recruit guys.
I think he combined, because he had two armies here last turn, so he combined them to do here, and then his cap recruitment went west here, and he's going to try to take these provinces to the west.
It would be interesting if Vadiheim and Arcocephale fought early, just because neither of the two of them realized that their neighbors were more vulnerable.
Yeah,
That would be really funny.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that would be a failure of scouting for sure.
Yeah, I guess it's LA and everyone has scouts, and it's also a game where like people are talking, so they probably are aware enough to not do that. It's just kind of funny that they're expanding towards each other now.
No, for sure. Okay, moving up a row to Tienchi. So this here is the army that killed the lizards, moving south, and then this is the Cap army. He loses for Barbarian Heavy Cav. Was this an attack rear? Yeah, but an attack rear that. Oh, yeah.
It got caught. Yeah.
So honestly, if you have 14 ancestor vessels, you just put everything in a line blob and attack. Like there's no reason to be fancy. Like these won't. No amount of indies.
It definitely paid off against the lizard shamans when he did a very similar thing.
Yeah. No, sorry. I meant like against this indie type, right? Against heavy cav and heavy infantry. When you have like 15 heavy cav, honestly, just regular heavy cav, but like especially sacreds, you just put that shit in the line and you eat the lance charge with your sacreds. They don't die, and you just like delete. Like you're gonna take fewer losses if you just fight as a blob. It maybe if you're afraid, but you could see the reason is if you make a line. The only scary thing is, see, this is the problem. Is this is a blob? Maybe he doesn't have the right commander with enough leadership. Yeah, okay. He needs an actual Khan or something, because the only problem is No, it's still not a problem because if you have a line here, they're just going to delete the heavy cav before the heavy infantry get there. So you're not even worried that something's going to come attack your commanders. You just have a line, attack closest, not even hold an attack, honestly. Attack closest, just kill them as fast as possible.
I do think that actually you do want hold an attack
Probably hold,
just
yeah.
because, yeah, and if
Create
you put
more
it far,
separation, yeah.
yeah, if you have it far back enough, then you don't have the hold penalty to your combat speed.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. You do hold an attack.
Oh,
But
he did do hold. Yeah, he did do hold an attack actually.
yeah, but I'm saying these guys should be in the hold and attack also.
Yeah.
Because then he wouldn't have lost.
Yeah, yeah. And you have enough...
It's just about knowing like the strength of your units, and here he's like underestimating the strength of like 18 Tienchi heavy cav, right?
Yeah, yeah, because they can break indies on the lance charge, no problem.
And honestly, like if I'm Tienchi, I kind of don't mind. Like this is actually Atlantis is doing a service. He's clearing the indies for me because I'm gonna go kill him after, right? Like obviously it would be better if he had more territory, but if you can define, like this doesn't feel great, right, versus Kalem, but hey, okay, it's Kalem, they can, they're going to expand very well. Here you were up against Arco, it ended up being split 1 and 2, and honestly this one has a lot of population, this one is pretty garbage, so that's like an okay outcome. If he can secure a reasonable border here with Ulm, then you can be okay with that expansion, knowing that, optimistically, knowing that you're going to take everything north from Atlantis when you fight him in the war. So...
Yeah, the other thing is that move by Atlantis, like, I'd mentioned it before, but that's just extremely rude. Like, that's essentially a war declaration. So if he wasn't at war with Atlantis already, then he is now.
He is now, yeah, for sure. Okay.
It's curious to me that Atlantis would want to pick a fight with Tienchi, though, because his other stuff isn't in position to do that. Like, normally if you make a move like that, it means you're attacking them, and then you follow it up, and he's not. It's very odd to me.
Yeah, it's almost as if, that is weird, because he presumably, like, he still has like 4 turns of battles here at minimum, right? And then potentially one or two more here, depending on how he wants to push up into Arco. So, like, he still needs to kill a bunch of gray provinces. A bit greedy, maybe.
Yeah, and we talked about this when we saw Bogarus's message, but his he doesn't have the mass of infantry right now to do a multi-front war, or even to do like one war decisively. I think. Yeah, he's a lot more vulnerable than I think Atlantis should be at this stage in the game.
Okay, Kalem.
But he's still Atlantis, so and we keep saying
still Atlantis. We'll have to see it. Kalem takes 2 more provinces here. And so Kalem has nice borders to the east. They have... Arco is spoiling this border here, but this was not very accessible to him anyways, so he kind of went 1-1 with Midgard, but he has the big province, so he's happy with this on the Midgard front. Presumably he's negotiated with Bogarus, so we'll have to see what that ends up being. And then he so far has 2 out of 3 against Jomin, and he might not know that Raga is about to attack him, but he should be able to get the 3rd one without a problem. So Kalem looking pretty good towards the end of his expansion phase. Already has 1 fort coming up, a 2nd fort coming up here.
Okay, so he's you see he actually cut troop recruitment in his capital. So he's going heavily into infrastructure. So he has, I don't know if he has a specific research goal that he's going for, but he's absolutely going for the early mage ball. Or else he's just playing passively, which is the other possibility.
Sure. And he does have a nap with Tienchi, right? We heard from Tienchi. So
and he has no reason not to. He
came out.
Border, so.
Exactly. He came out ahead here on expansion. Nap, like that's great. Yeah, I'll take this land. I'll fort it up. No problem. And so he's actually Caleb actually has peace with Bogarus and Tienchi. So unclear if he has hostile intentions with versus Midgard or Joman. He doesn't have to. He could just build forts for a while.
I mean, you really should. When you're Caleb, you really do want an early war.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where he wants to move. Honestly,
I mean, it's definitely.
Droman might have been his plan all along, but Raga might beat him to it.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing is if he vultures Raga now, he gets 2 provinces and that's it. Like that's the saddest loot that you would get from a war like that.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Droman, he had an army here in the forest last turn, and this was not a bump, was it? No. So he moves west here, and this army goes up here. Oh, this is kind of overkill. Well, maybe he was expecting. Maybe he had scouts here, and he thought this. No, he would have known that there was no risk of a bump. Maybe he's afraid of bumping Raga, but this would be an odd place. I don't know. This is a lot, especially considering you don't need to combine these. Like this army alone would be enough to take this. So I don't know. This seems like overkill to the north, but we'll see.
He is buying the Bakemono though. He like the troops instead of just the commander. So that's good.
Yeah, that's good. And he's going to try to push out to the south. So we wish him luck. Unfortunately, he might get Zayadened in a couple of turns. But
I mean, Patala and Joman both really want that province because the death magic is really good on both of them. Like they both just really want the Chemazots for their leadership.
I mean, there's a high likelihood for a bump here next turn, so let's watch out for that for sure.
I don't think. Well, I think this was like a no Diplo game. Like, yeah, 100% they bumped there, but I think that they just talk and then they come to an agreement that way.
Maybe, yeah. But hang on. If you're they see they might not have amazing scouting, but they see like you see as Patala, you see this, right?
Yeah.
So if you're Patala, you have this. You have like 14 Bandar Warrior, 6 Naga Warriors, some Arcata, right? Do you feel scared fighting this?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think if I'm Patala, I don't like. I just say you either don't talk or you just take it, right? Because the Nagas are going to be really good against the cavalry.
Sure, you still don't want to bump though, right? Like if you don't plan on, the only reason you would want to bump is if you actually like plan on attacking Joman immediately afterwards. And I don't think that Patala wants to, so it makes no sense to take unnecessary attrition on your expansion party. Like whether or not he knows that Raga's going to be fighting Joman, if he's not going to be fighting Joman himself, there's no reason that he wants to kill those troops, especially not at the cost of his own units.
Yeah,
may as well have those fight someone else.
Yeah, maybe you just say, "Hey, I'm going to win this bump if we bump, so let's not do it," and that way you can save your samurai, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just talk to him like a person and come to like a decent border arrangement. Because I mean, it's 2 provinces from both of them, sure, but Joman still has like another province or 2 that he can claim with that expansion party. So like they can both like be okay with Patala taking that, I think.
Yeah. And you give yeah. All right, so that's Patala. Wait, where were we in our cycle? We
did Caleb, Joman, and then we started talking about Patala because of Joman.
But didn't we already do Patala? That's weird. How did we? Oh, did we do no? Because we did Tienchi. Then okay. So let's just keep going west. I don't know how I got confused there. Anyways, Joman did this. Let's go to because I feel like we didn't do Patala, but we must have done Patala, right? Yes, I remember this one. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, yeah. Memory loss. Okay, Ulm. So Ulm pushes out into heavy cav. A lot of rangers, small front line. Let's take a look where he placed his guys. Yeah, nice kind of combined front line. Hold and attack closest. Very reasonable.
Yeah, and you can kind of see the whole friendly fire issue there. Like it didn't necessarily kill that many people. It killed at least one though, but
It
like it
killed
also
one.
just did a bunch of damage to his own guys.
Yeah, the heavy
Like he was
cav killed 4, but 5 died.
Yeah, and then but like even though they didn't get like the last hit on Moore, there was friendly fire there, and you see that it's basically due to how the AI is predicting movement. Like it sees that the heavy cav are going to be charging to like X square, so or in this case the
Yeah.
heavy infantry, so it shoots one square ahead, and then that square wasn't filled with infantry; it had Zweihanders in it.
Yeah.
So he shot like 3 of his own guys in the back. Luckily, only one of them died, but still.
Yeah, still.
And so that's like probably the biggest difference between 4 and 5 in terms of like how ranged units change
Yeah.
is just the whole like movement thing making shots miss, or in this case even connect on your allies.
So still recruiting rangers in the capital building labs. There's a second pile of rangers here, but with nothing else. So the best he can do is combine. It's still only like elephants and rangers. Um,
You
I
can send the elephant solo and have the giant ranger stack go fight something. The ranger
I
stack can kill the
guess.
jaguar tribe.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
range attack could kill the drivers, but the elephants can't cross here, and they can't take this
Oh,
on.
you're right. Yeah.
So unfortunately, that move doesn't quite work
Maybe he is just consolidating everything in that heavy calf
for
province.
the heavy cap. I mean, yeah, he could, but you would actually. So he might have. We don't know if he's talking to Tienchi, but I feel like you want the Jag province because this is kind of yours. It's kind of in your pocket. So I think you want to prioritize this.
I mean, getting the farm early is still a lot of income, though.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. It's only Jaguars and it's a swamp. I don't know. Well, we'll see. This looks like he wants to combine, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and if he isn't talking to Tianchi, then having this struck like he sees that there's nothing here. Now he wouldn't know that there's nothing here yet, but he might kind of feel that he has another turn before this is in play. So if he combines here, then he could just move here with like elephants and whatever 70 crossbows and feel comfortable bumping.
I
So
honestly don't think that we're going to have bumps this game. Just because having two
yeah,
players on the team means that it's a lot easier to do Diplo because there's someone else that can go do the talking.
yeah. Well, I said bumping, but it could also sometimes it's posturing, right? Like a bump doesn't
Yeah.
actually need to happen to kind of be like, hey, look, if we bump, I'll win, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
okay, that was Ulm. Tenchi we talked about. Let's move on up a row. This is our kind of oh no wait, our reference row is actually Arco, which is here, even though Arco's territory extends all the way here. So I thought we were going to go to Bogarus, but let's go to Atlantis. So Atlantis very boldly, and we talked about this a little bit, moves southeast, basically declaring war on Tianchi.
I mean, he might just give it up and be like, "Oh, well, sorry, didn't mean to," or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely an odd decision, but I don't see him holding that.
I mean, he goes, so next turn, obviously, he goes back here, then these go underwater. Here, he clears to the north. So, I mean, like, except for the Diplo shit that's about to hit his fan, like, he is actually doing kind of fine on expansion, right? He's taking 3 per turn. He has an awake.
Yeah.
He's gaining territory. He's got a fort under construction. Has he started a second one? No.
I assume he starts his second one underwater to start getting like real wizards.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see. We know there's a war coming. I wonder if he knows that
He's not
right?
building like he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if he suspects that Bogarus is going to attack him. Like he might suspect that Tianchi is going to attack him after he did this, but he might not suspect that there's a coalition against him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that just based on the common perception of Bogarus's early game vulnerability, he might just not be expecting the aggression coming from there.
For sure. Hey, the early Bogarus war that no one expects.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it's probably going to work though, just because he has a buddy.
Yeah. All right. So that was Atlantis. Moving on westward here towards Bogarus. So, as Bogarus explained, that we touched on this briefly at the beginning of the video, but Bogarus thought that maybe Atlantis might be coming for them because Bogarus is commonly perceived to be weak. So he takes this province. I don't think he expected there was any scenario where the worm goes into his cap circle, which I think is a reasonable assumption. And he apparently made a small PD dump here and has some crossbows and eparchs, which he tested, and it kills the worm. So he felt safe here. Yeah. And then he also expanded here with like 2 of every unit.
Yeah, it does look like a little bit like an AI army, but it really is mostly just heavy cav.
Yeah, no, it is actually 6 heavy cav, and I think these are just the dregs of like, the random expansion armies. So no worries.
Yeah, and those foreign recruit black hoods. It's interesting that he's using them as archers instead of lancers.
Yeah, I mean, they don't lance, right?
Well, I meant cavalry.
Yeah. Not literally, yeah. I mean, but actually, a 10 precision composite bow or 11 is not terrible.
Yeah, it's not useless.
Yeah, it's like not useless. Okay, and we don't know the exact details of their border arrangement, but this is settled. So, there's no rush to claim this. However, we know that this is going to Raga, so presumably, well, either this turns around because this is already Kalim's by negotiation, or it isn't and he takes it next turn. So we'll see. Any forts underway besides this one that we know is underway? Nope. Okay. Looks like he's... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that given that Bogarus is almost finished with expansion, like he's got maybe 2 more provinces to claim.
Yeah, maybe this.
It makes sense for that expansion party on his southwest to go reconsolidate with his army and go fight Atlantis. Like to just get started with that, because if you're planning on doing it anyways, there's no point in waiting.
Yeah, I'm curious what if he goes, like in how many turns he goes. He might want to wait for this Palisades to finish, so that that can free up moving this army.
Bogarus's PD is actually worse against the Wyrm than the Indie crossbows, so in some sense, you actually don't want it to finish.
Well, I mean, because if it finishes, then he has the freedom to move whatever army is defending here off this province.
Oh, sure.
Right,
I just mean like if you're fighting in that province, like you're expecting them to attack into it, and you like actually do want the fight to happen, you want that Indie PD, not the Russian PD.
Right. Yes, I see what you're saying. That's true. Yeah, I think he's got like a couple more turns to backfill. I feel like you do kind of want to. We don't know what the status of this province is, but I feel like you do want to take this province. But maybe it's just a few heavy cav. We'll see. I'm actually curious to see what the timing of this attack. Also, this province is like slightly out of reach, but it might have been negotiated to Midgard, right? So they said they have borders with Midgard. I don't think Maryland, who's one of the players on Midgard, I don't think he would have just given all 3 to Bogarus, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing that.
So this has to be Midgard's, presumably.
Yeah, so Bogarus can send an army to from his cap to go take that one province that he negotiated for.
Yeah,
and then he can send that other expansion party just out into Atlantis.
Mm-hmm. Or he consolidates and then goes. But
yeah, so he moves that northern party down, naturally that's where that's going.
Yeah.
And then he can just immediately attack Atlantis the next turn.
Yeah.
He has all his troops in place for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if Atlantis is like, oh, well, I'm going to counterattack and break your fort with my Wyrm, then he just loses the Wyrm, and that's even better.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll have to see how soon this conflict gets started. And moving on over, so Raga here, we talked about it in the messages, so he's planning to attack Joman very soon. He's taken this with 4 Zaydans and friends for Deer Tribe. It feels like overkill. Sevens, Aidens here also feels like overkill.
Yeah, we do keep reiterating that, though.
Yeah, so, okay, we'll stop. Flegra with a whole bunch... Oh, these barbarians didn't even have a commander. In the initial failed attack, he killed... There was one commander left.
He killed 2 out of 3, yeah.
So, does he have assassins?
Check the mercenary list.
Yeah.
I know there is a mercenary assassin. Oh, nope, he doesn't have that.
No. Maybe that barbarian like died from like a bleed or something, and we missed it. Like that third commander.
I think that would show up in the battle report.
Yeah, you're right.
It counts the routed guys in the battle report as well. And Flegra does not have recruitable assassins.
Okay, a mystery.
Yeah.
All right. And that
maybe the barbarian got like a disease as one of his combat afflictions and then died to that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess that's the only thing that we can think of, right?
Yeah, I think that's the only way that it dies without showing up in the battle report.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have surveyed all of the expansions. At the end of turn 8, I think the status, the sort of relative power balance hasn't shifted too much. In my mind, just because of the events that are unfolding, I'm kind of bumping up Tienchi's position, right?
Yes, just because they're going to benefit a lot from that war.
Yeah, I anticipate this is kind of going to go well for them. Now, we don't know. He might get smashed by the worms somehow, like who knows, right? But this is probably good for them. Arco definitely doing well, as he was before.
I wish we had more messages from Arco about who he's going to go fight, because that's what I want to know. Because when you take a build like this, your power growth relative to everyone else is at its height early. So he really does benefit from picking a year 1 war and start invading someone turn 11, 12.
Except the weird thing for him is that his expansion so far really has been quite successful with the shipwreckers, and he got favorable borders with Tienchi, and like even Vedi, who's doing well. Apparently they were talking, but Arco still has so many gray flags to go kill, right?
Yes.
He might feel that he might sniff out that there's a war here, so he might just vulture on Atlantis and then just take thrones or whatever, right? He
has the luxury of taking the freebies.
Yeah, exactly. So to me that's still there, and honestly, big unknown here. Okay, sure, I like Zaydens versus most things on year 1, especially Joman. But it's not a big Raga, right? So if Raga loses a battle, then this could make both players irrelevant.
Yeah, Raga is tiny, but so I actually, if Raga were to rush Joman now, normally I'd be like, oh yeah, Raga wins that fight easily. But just based on the player, the pilot, I should say, I don't know how well they'll actually do in practice.
Okay, well, we will find out possibly next turn how all of this unfolds.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, my pleasure. Sorry, I had a bit of fit of coughing there to end the episode. Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch all you guys next time. Take care.